Three, two, one. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of AM Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew. How are you doing today, my friends? I'm here with my friends Rico and Andrew. How's it going?
Hey, it's going really, really well. I've watched some great movies.
Did I? I'm very excited.
Yeah, Andrew is spared for this first discussion that we're about to go through. So
That I was. I didn't have time to watch the first one we're going to talk about, unfortunately, but, can't wait to hear what these guys have to say. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah, we're going to make it very descriptive for you, just so that you can join in on all the greatness that this movie was.
Ooh, sarcasm. I love it.
that also goes for our viewers. We hope you get some type of visual in your head of how hilarious this movie is. So, without further ado, the first movie that we're going to be discussing on the podcast today is 2022's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They dropped the. They're getting more edgy now.
Yeah, that's the Netflix charm for you right there.
Oh, man.
So with this one...
Yeah. You lose words and quality.
Yeah, this one starts off about 50 years after the first movie. So in a way, it is actually a direct sequel to the first one. So
already a red flag.
Yeah, you don't really like having remakes be direct sequels to certain things because most of the time they fall flat. This was one of those times. All right, so it starts off with four friends. Sarah Yarkin plays Melody, and she has got to be one of the most annoying characters I've seen in quite a while. She's a very dumb person that constantly is talking shit when it's not socially acceptable to talk shit. And it gets everyone else into a lot of problems because of it. She's joined by her business partner, Jacob Lattimore, who plays Dante. This guy is actually pretty cool, I thought, in the beginning. As the movie goes on, he's not as cool as I thought he was. And he's with his wife, Ruth, and also Melody's sister, Lila. So all of them are going to this town called Harlow, which is basically this really piece of shit town that is going to be, that they bought out so that they can make it into the new hub for all those people that are trying to get out of the busy cities and everything. So they bought out all the deeds to every single building here. And when they go there, spoiler, they didn't buy out all the deeds to every single place. And they see that this woman is still here. They convince themselves that they did buy it. So they kick her out. And spoiler, the lady has a heart attack and dies because of it. Which then sets off a chain of events that turns out that lady's son is actually Leatherface. And he goes on a rampage, and the entire movie pretty much just takes off from there, where it's just kill every single person thereon after. Now, I'm not sure how you felt about the gore in this movie, Matt, but honestly, half of it I really loved. The other half, it was very not good. What'd you think about it?
Yeah. Okay, just one really quick thing before I answer your question about the gore. I don't think that was his mother. I mean, not like it fucking matters with this movie, but I believe that was like a woman that adopted him at some point, or she basically she owned an adoption agency, which was that house.
Oh, that's right.
And so he went back to that place because that was all he knew. Which, I mean, well, first off, that in and of itself is stupid. Yes, let's give a backstory to Leatherface because we really needed that. The people were dying to know. And, the thing about the gore in this movie, it's good. If you're just going to this movie for gore, trust me, you'll get that. It delivers in that department. In every other department, in terms of directing, cinematography, acting, just good writing, none of that's here. None whatsoever. At all. And, honestly, like, there's been so many examples of, like, a popular franchise that just comes back after 20 or 30 years. We've seen it with, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, It. Yeah, honestly, I would say, like, those movies, they range in qualities, but, they're better than this one. This one, oh boy. Like, I don't know. To me, this is a movie that should be shown to film students or just, any fan of a horror genre. Like, it is a marvel at how bad it is. Like, it literally is an exercise in everything not to do in a horror movie. It's just, like I said, it's something to marvel at. I don't think it is dog shit, but I don't think it's completely useless because it did produce some belly laughs. Like, I don't know about you, man, but this movie got some belly laughs out of me. Like, I'm talking like, ha ha, you can hear me from the other room laugh. Like, legit actual comedies can't even do that for me nowadays. Like, this movie's really special in how bad it is, honestly.
Would you put it on the same list as like The Room, where it's so bad it's actually kind of good?
Honestly, yeah. Yeah, honestly, I would. Yeah.
Okay, because I was kind of leaning a little bit in that direction where I thought it was really bad, but I actually enjoyed it because it was so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely reached that level for me. Like, I was gaining enjoyment from how bad and poorly made it was. It was just, it was so over the top and ridiculous. Just, like the whole, like I said earlier, like the whole thing, like giving Leatherface a backstory, like whatever, yeah, sure, that's fine, dumb, but whatever. It just, what gets worse is that like these characters are just so stupid and bad and annoying, and you're just like, holy shit, the most intelligent character in this entire fucking movie is Leatherface. Like, he actually makes smart decisions. He actually is tactical with how he kills some of these people. He actually, like, uses the chainsaw to distract them so he can, like, get them from another angle. Like, dude, Leatherface is actually smart in this movie. Like, you actually root for him. You're like, yeah, dude, fucking, you rev that chainsaw, bro. You fucking delve it into them, bro. Just, oh my god.
It
was amazing.
He's hiding behind doors and everything. Like,
yeah, in the most obvious way. Like, he's like, you obviously see his leg out, and you're like, bro, have his body standing out. How do you not fucking see him? And like, I know what you're talking about, Rico. That fucking scene where I don't even fucking remember her name. The main chick, where she's under the bed.
Melody.
Yeah, Melody. She's hiding under the bed. Yeah, so she goes back to the house. She's hiding under the bed, and Leatherface. Okay, this is the section of the movie that's just annoying. Like, this entire, like, a majority of this second act is Leatherface just going through this house, just doing random shit. Fucking gets his chainsaw out of the fucking wall because, of course he did. It was in the wall. He had no other place to put it. Freaking, I can't remember other stupid things he's doing. Like, oh my god. But yeah, shoot. So basically, Melody is hiding under the bed, and Leatherface hears. Okay, I'm getting way ahead of myself, but there was a scene early on in the movie where they come across this one Texan dude who's basically kind of a hard ass. He lives around the town. I think he does live in the town still. I believe he's like a mechanic there, something like that. But yeah. So anyways, the mechanic goes to the house, and he's basically trying to. Damn, I can't remember what he was doing. I think he went to the house because they saw the black guy got injured. And so he goes to the house to try to... Yeah, okay, he goes back to the house and he tries to look for Melody. So he gets up to the top stairs. Leatherface hides behind the door. And honestly, from where the mirror is angled, I feel as though you could see Leatherface behind there. Like, he's making no effort to really... hide his entire body around there. Like, you really can't miss him, dude. And then Melody sees the hard-ass Texan dude is coming into the room. And so to try and help him, She sticks her leg out from under the bed in plain sight that Leatherface could easily see. She sticks her leg out. She freaking moves the mirror so that she can try and warn Texas dude. He notices it, and he's like, oh, what the fuck? And then right at that moment, Leatherface attacks him. And, yeah, guess what? Spoiler alert. He dies.
Yeah, but it's actually a pretty badass fight scene. Like, this dude, the Texan guy, his name is Richter. This dude actually puts up a fight, which makes Leatherface look pretty weak in the beginning. Like, he honestly is, like, getting, like, jabs and, like, haymakers in on him. And, like, even... So, there's this one point where Leatherface actually bashes his knee in, Richter's knee in, the Texan. And then Richter, with a broken freaking leg, freaking tackles him, throws him through a wall, or through a window, basically, and then they're just fighting in broken glass, basically. And I was like, dude, this guy's insane. This would have been the freaking, like, big bad villain guy if Leatherface didn't show up. Like, this guy was doing some work on him.
Yeah, and I honestly thought they were kind of setting something up for him, but then they just kill him off, and I was just like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I was really connected with the other characters, thanks. Fucking, yeah, I thought Richter was honestly probably the best character in this movie, honestly, aside from the other characters who were just, you know, unlikable assholes.
Yeah, like, Richter wasn't an asshole just for the sake of being an asshole, too. Like, he was, like, an asshole because they were being an asshole, like, blatantly. Like, all he did was just park and get gas, and then they're just talking shit on him, saying he has a little dick. And, like, he wasn't doing anything. Yeah. Like, all he did was just put in gas. Like,
yeah, Andrew, at the beginning of this movie, like, one of the chick characters, Melody, just goes up to Richter. I think he's just, like, minding his own business, and she, like, basically says he has a little dick. And just, like, basically, like, walks away, basically. Freaking, it was just, oh my god. The dialogue in this movie is awful.
It is.
That seems to be a reoccurring thing with, like, bad horror movies. They only have, like, one decent character, and the rest are just really shitty. And by the way, I just want to make a quick joke. When Rico brought up the Room comparison, I just imagine one of them that's dying is like, you're tearing me apart, Leatherface, and he just has, like, a chainsaw going at him.
Okay, there is one very laughable scene, a death scene, that should belong in The Room if it was a horror movie like that.
I think I know what you're about to say. Go ahead.
All right. So the one that I think is freaking embarrassingly bad is Sally Hardisty's death scene.
Oh my bro.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Thank God.
Matt.
Yeah. So
tell Andrew what just happened. Like, oh
please,
my god.
I'm free. Continue.
Okay, so, like, all right, if you don't know, Sally Hardesty is the original girl from the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the one that made it.
Oh no, that's another red flag. When you get a remake that's set way in the future and you get the original actor, oh boy, okay, all right,
yeah. So they're pulling a Halloween, you know, basically bringing back, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis in a way. Except, you know, Sally Hardesty. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't watched any of the other Texas Chainsaws besides the original. I'm under the impression she's not a recurring character. I think she was just only in the first one. So yeah, they bring her back in this one, and yeah, she literally is basically playing Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween. Freaking, she's a hard ass. She's just, you know, I guess I wouldn't say she's been living in fear all these years, but, you know, she's been waiting for him to pop up. She's been hunting him. I think she's a Texas Ranger, I believe.
Yep.
Or something like that, something along those lines. Yeah. So yeah, they bring Sally back into the mix, and she doesn't really have any setup dialogue at all. Like, I think her introduction is her butchering an animal or something. And she hears something on the radio about Leatherface, and she's like, oh, well, that's my cue. Gotta go kill him. And so, you know, she's into the mix. And so So yeah, she goes to the town and she confronts Leatherface, and yeah, she's basically hunting him, and yeah, yeah, this death scene. Oh boy, yeah. So basically, she's hunting him, and you hear his chainsaw in this dark alleyway. She has her shotgun pumped and ready to go. You hear this chainsaw in this dark alleyway. Okay, maybe don't go down the dark alleyway, but she starts to go closer to it, and he freaking rushes her. And so they get into like a little scuffle, and then it ultimately ends with freaking Leatherface with his chainsaw sticking it through Sally, like through her chest, her stomach, her chest, while it's being revved. He lifts her up with the chainsaw and throws her in a pile of trash. And,
Yeah.
you know, if that wasn't enough, guess what? She's still alive. She's still fucking alive somehow. She is able to. Okay, I know I'm like skipping a little bit here, but in between there, the two sisters confront Leatherface in this building, and yada yada. They get out, and she's still alive, and she's like, "Take it, just take it." As she's like, she's literally reloading her shotgun while she has a hole in her stomach. I'm just.
And it wasn't like a shallow thing or anything. It went completely through her torso. He lifted her up in the air, kept revving it while she was in air, and she got her guts basically blended for like a good like 5 seconds, and then he throws her across the street, and she legit like lives for so much longer. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Dude, you know what? I'm kind of glad I didn't watch this movie then. That shit, I'm sorry. If you have an entire hole in your chest, and not just any hole, a hole created by a fucking chainsaw, you should not be able to move, let alone have a fucking shotgun already. Oh my, that frustrated me just listening. Oh my god.
Dude, she's able to form sentences too. I'm just like,
What?
Yeah, she actually
like,
shoots
what?
him with the shotgun too. Also, this dude's a freaking tank. Like, he takes hella shotgun shells to the chest and like to the body, the arms, never gets phased. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
They turned Leatherface into Jason. I'm like, what the fuck?
No, every horror movie nowadays needs to be Jason. Like, they're even doing this with Halloween too. Like, in terms of like making him like an indestructible type being.
Okay, guys. Well, just listening to what you're saying, I have a theory. Okay, I think Netflix pulled a Patrick from SpongeBob. They saw Halloween, right? And they said, "What if we take the premise of Halloween and push it to Chainsaw Massacre?" Like, what the? That doesn't even. And like, I'm speechless. I don't know. That's just an entire hole in your stomach, and you can form scent. Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah, and it was it's not even over yet. And look, not like we need to waste any more time on this movie, but you know, we can just talk about a few more things and move on here. But another thing I wanted to get into this movie about is that it does the cliche of where you think the villain is dead and they're not dead,
yeah.
but you know from an audience perspective that they're not dead. It was presented. It was the equivalency of killing someone off screen, and you know they're not dead because you didn't personally see it. Okay, let me just explain this whole scenario. So basically, like, I think Leatherface is in like a movie theater or like, I don't know. It's a really shitty rundown building. Whatever, doesn't matter. So, anyways, one of the sisters, the younger sister, I can't remember her name. What was it? Like Lila? Rico? Yeah. So another thing that's really stupid about this movie is that they even give her like a backstory where she's basically like a school shooting survivor. So it's really awful to just even throw that in there. First of all, because it's so like. It's just so thrown in there, and it's pointless, and it's trying to get some sympathy out of you for this character, and it doesn't work whatsoever. It's just thrown in there, and it's really, really fucking bad. And so, anyways, so it does play into her character. Like, she basically doesn't like being around guns. Like, she's very, like, paranoid around being guns. So, basically, Jamie Lee, or Jamie Lee Curtis, oh my god. Yeah, Sally gives Lila the shotgun. And so, basically, this is Lila's huge character arc. You know, she's holding a gun. She's going to do it. And so, okay, this is the moment where, like, where Leatherface is really smart. So you hear the chainsaw, and well, first you hear it being revved, and then you hear it like constantly on. And Lila hears it, and she starts walking towards the chainsaw, even though there's like drapes and tarps everywhere. You can't see shit. So fucking, she gets close enough to the chainsaw where you could basically like, you know, you can muster. Any smart human would be like, okay, I'm not going over there. He has a tactical advantage over me. I'm not going over there. She keeps walking over there. She gets close enough to the chainsaw to see that he's not even there. It's just the chainsaw. And then he rushes her out of nowhere and just freaking tackles her, basically. Fucking pushes her over, and fucking the shotgun knocks out of her hand. Whatever. They have a fucking little scuffle, and it ultimately ends with her sister Melody coming to the rescue. And she gets the chainsaw, and she basically uppercuts Leatherface with the chainsaw, but basically like grazes his face. Doesn't like do extensive damage, doesn't decapitate him, doesn't make sure he's dead, just grazes his face and basically just believes he's dead. He falls back into like this puddle of water, and you assume he's dead. And, you know, like I said, from an audience perspective, you're like, okay, well, yeah, 100%, he's not fucking dead. Like, really? Yeah. After everything that you've been through and seen with this character, taking shotgun blasts and whatnot, you're not going to take that chainsaw and fucking poke him in the head with it? Really?
Like, take a leg or two off? This guy just butchered all my friends and my entire, like, possible legacy. Like, I would have made an effigy out of this guy. Like, scattered him across the fucking town that I just bought. But she doesn't do shit.
Double tap.
Yeah,
double tap. Come on.
Exactly.
And then, well, shit. Do you want to say how this ends, Rico?
All right.
I'll let you close us out, my man.
All right. So it ends with them. After this scene happens, after they quote unquote kill Leatherface, the two sisters, Melody and Lila, walk out, go right back to the car, and now it's morning apparently, which means they spent a lot of time just in that theater for some reason. And Lila goes up and picks up Sally's hat, puts it on, picks up a picture of Sally's friends, is like, that looks fun, and then takes it to the car. I'm like, dude, she's still, her dead body's like still in the trash bags. Like, you're just gonna steal her shit and just walk off? And she does that, and she goes into I think it's like a Tesla, like it's a smart car, and it has an autopilot feature. And they sit in the car and they set the GPS for home being about 7 hours away from this middle of nowhere like town. And they set the autopilot to home, despite all of their fucking wounds, all of the stabs that they got throughout the movie. They're not going to a hospital. They're just going to take an autopilot home. And the autopilot is a very slow start to it. So they're sitting in the car and they're just like, hey, you know what? I think I like it here. I think I will stay here with you, Mel. And it's like the dumbest, cheesiest like dialogue. And then out of nowhere,
there's like really awful music playing too.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so cheesy.
And then out of nowhere, Leatherface comes in, busts through the window, grabs Melody, yanks her out of the car. And then Lila can't do anything about it because the car is set on autopilot. So she gets through the sunroof and is just screaming to Melody as she's like put on the floor. And yeah, basically Leatherface taunts her a bit and then just decapitates Melody with one swipe with the chainsaw and just starts dancing with her head, basically. All right, so the thing about this decapitation scene, It was freaking horrible, dude. Like, oh my god, I rewatched it like 5 different times. You can obviously tell that they took 2 different takes of her, but like CGI'd out her body and head for separate scenes during this.
Yeah.
Because even before the chainsaw comes close to touching her head, her body is already coagulating as if she's getting chainsaw revved.
Yeah.
And then her body falls down, but her head stays in the same exact position. Her eyes just close. And it's like so poorly timed on both reactions that it's fucking comical, dude. It's so bad. You can even see where her head isn't exactly blended into the body for each take. I'm just like, oh my god, dude. And that's how the movie ends. Lila just watches her sister die and then can't turn off the autopilot for some reason and drives off to home.
And now we wait for the sequel where she comes back in 20 to 30 years to avenge her sister.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh boy, I can't wait for that one, and I can't wait not to watch it either.
Fucking genius writing. Fucking they just seamlessly put that in.
Oh yeah, and
set themselves up.
Also, all of these characters throughout the movie are social media influencers, and they're
god.
Yeah, they're written by people that don't understand like what people today are like. So
yeah,
it's like
it's 40-year-old dudes writing teenager dialogue.
Yeah, so it's like
awful. It's
like anti-gun, Confederate flag, homophobia. It's like a lot of like those are good things to be, but I mean it's like overblown. Like it's super like, oh, that guy has a gun, he must have a small dick type of thing. And it's like, oh my god, dude, people are not like so blatantly like obnoxious about this. Like it was the most like stereotypical mindset of what a person like that would be like, and it's so over the top that it's just like it's so hard to just watch.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, I've for sure seen movies where they're just plain bad. And they don't offer any type of like so bad it's funny, where it's just, to me, that is painful. This to me, I mean, it wasn't painful. It was just only for the fact that I laughed throughout this whole thing extensively. So, I mean, I don't know. If you want a good comedy, wholeheartedly, I recommend Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you want a cool drinking game, I'm pretty sure you could garner something out of this. I'm pretty sure you could drink every time he revs that chainsaw. Like seriously, you'll be fucked up by the end of this movie. Fucking it's ridiculous.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying you had me at drinking.
Yeah, will for sure enhance the experience without a doubt.
Also, why the hell was the chainsaw plastered into the wall? Like this dude was killing with anything he could find. But for some reason, the chainsaw was like, no, we need to put that in the wall. Like, what the hell?
Because it's tropey, Rico. They can't be creative. They couldn't think of anything else.
That was just straight up like, what is it? Keanu Reeves, blanking here. John Wick. That was like a John Wick scene where he had to break through the ground and get his, like, arsenal, his little weapons. Like he had to just had this extensive scene where he's just breaking through the wall to get his chainsaw, and it's like, oh, this magical moment.
I'm gonna need this later.
Yeah, now my arm is complete again. That kind of scene. It's like, oh god.
Fucking that was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, people. 2022. Fucking watch it if you want a good comedy. Other than that, I'm down to get into ratings.
Yep.
Fucking, I give it a 2 out of 10. Really funny.
I give it
awful.
I give it a 3 out of 10 just because I did like some of the practical effects they had on it, and I would like to try that out.
Hell yeah. Dang.
And I didn't see it, so yeah.
Lucky you.
Andrew is fair, guys.
I was, and I'm grateful for your guys' sacrifice for me. You will be remembered.
You're welcome.
I'm not going to remember this one. I'm going to delete that one.
It holds a special place in my heart. But yeah, so yeah. Now that that's out of the way, yeah, let's get into the recommended movies by my friend Andrew here. Take it away, my friend.
Will do, will do. All right, guys. Today we are going to be talking about two movies. The first one is going to be Iron Boy Jr., No Way Back to the Apartment, and then Warrior. But really, we're talking about Spider-Man No Way Home and The Warrior. So, since we're starting off with Spider-Man No Way Home, I will give a quick rundown of what the movie is for those who haven't seen it. Spoilers for Spider-Man Far From Home if you haven't seen that movie either. But at
You've
the
been
end of
living
that,
under a rock.
yeah, exactly. If you haven't seen that film, at the very end, Spider-Man's secret identity was outed by Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who, by the way, just want to say, did phenomenal in that movie. Mysterio has been a fan favorite of mine in terms of Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, so it was really cool. Also was kind of bummed he wasn't in No Way Home, but it's okay. You know, if you saw Far From Home, you know why. But first of all, just wanted to say No Way Home was, I think, in essence, the best Spider-Man live-action film we've gotten so far in terms of, it was kind of like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for me in terms of, you know, capturing the essence of what Spider-Man is. And I think that was really great on John Watts' part. The music was composed by the same composer who composed The Batman. Really well done. I think it's Michael Giacchino, or however you pronounce his last name.
I'm not entirely
Um,
sure.
I'll IMDb it, dude.
Okay,
Yeah,
for
I got
sure.
it, dude.
But I think it's something like, because I know it was the same composer. I know that for sure. I just don't know how to pronounce his name. His last name, at least. And then we also have Warrior, which is directed by Gavin O'Connor. Really well done film on that part. So with Spider-Man No Way Home, let's just get into it. What did you guys think of it?
Matt, I'll let you go first on this one.
Oh, 100%. This is the. I mean, I do struggle saying it's the best live action Spider Man, only because I haven't rewatched Tobey Maguire's 1 and 2 in a very long time. But I will for sure say this is 100% the best Tom Holland, John Watts Spider Man. 100%. They. Just from the other two films in this set trilogy, I would even say like this third movie, it does everything that a trilogy should do. It improves on everything, basically, like even directing wise, writing wise. Like I think everything is just stronger here. Even the visual effects look better here, in my opinion. The just everything that they're juggling here, they pull off seamlessly. And what's crazy is that they're doing it with two. Okay, so spoiler alert. There are the other two Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, are in this movie, and having them thrown into the mix and to it be pull off as seamless as it is, like that's just something to marvel at. Honestly, it's just it's a work of art, honestly. And
oh, sorry, Matt.
no, it's okay. Just really quick, I just wanted to get into that. Like, I do like that Spider-Verse was released before this in an animated format because it does kind of. It basically showed the studio, like, okay, a Spider-Verse movie is possible. It could be done really well. And it's crazy because, like, it was all been set up all the way back to, I believe, 2001, which is the premiere of the first Spider-Man movie. But, yeah, 20 years in the making, and it came out amazing. I loved it personally.
Yeah.
What would you think, Rico?
And that's honestly the exact reason why I love this movie so much, is because it celebrated like 20 years of Spider-Man. It was like you get all these movies honestly, with Marvel, you got all these movies where it sets up for the next thing, and then when it get that payoff, it's a freaking payoff. It's something to, like, it's a memorable one. You get that with all the Avengers movies, introducing new people each time and then seeing them actually blend and mesh together. Like, it's great. And that's something I loved about this, is that it just kind of picks up, like, right where those characters left off. And it, like, shows that their movies actually built their character and that they are still that character. They're just dealing with things in different ways. And I love that so much, because it's not like the same, like, oh, Peter Parker, good guy, doesn't do anything wrong. Like, one of them actually has done some wrong because they kind of fell from the path. And it's like, that's great right there. Like, it shows that, like, that person, that one's movies actually had an impact on who he became eventually. And it's just great. Like, everything about it, like, the acting, like, freaking Willem Dafoe again. Like, if you ever have a movie with Willem Dafoe, it's going to be great, in my opinion. And
Willem fucking Dafoe.
He is out here.
Him as the Green Goblin, holy shit. I love it so much. Oh my god, I was so happy seeing him be the big bad guy on this one, and just like, oh my god, he's still amazing. I just can't get over him. Like, oh
yeah, just really quick, Andrew, I believe that the composer was Michael Giacchino.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to get that out there before we moved on. But go ahead. What did you want to say, dude?
Oh yeah, so I was just going to say that I think one of the greatest aspects of Spider-Man: No Way Home was the fact that a lot of the returning villains and the returning Spider-Man, they could have easily phoned this in. They could have easily just been like, "This is a paycheck job," blah blah blah. Which I will say, two of the villains kind of felt like that. Spoiler alert: I felt like personally that Sandman and the Lizard weren't really well developed in this movie, and it could be a multitude of reasons. It could be maybe because the actors didn't want to return. Or maybe it's just they didn't really feel like their characters had a big role in the film. And to be honest, they kind of didn't, which is okay. Because the main three villains that we did focus on, they did great. Which were Jamie Foxx's Electro, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, and Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. And just to hinder back to Rico's point, Willem Dafoe, man, he is just... It's not... I remember I had actually rewatched all the Spider-Man movies leading up to No Way Home. And I was just thinking, like, how is he going to top this performance? Because his performance in Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, directed by Sam Raimi, it was so great. He was the epitome of what a comic book supervillain should be in a film. And I just, how is he going to do it? How is he going to up it? But man, does he really up it. Not only is he like chewing the scenery that doesn't feel in an overly hammed way, he's chewing it in a way where it's like he's enjoying it. He's tasting the flavor, and you feel him put out that flavor to the audience and to everyone who saw the movie, and it was just so fucking incredible. And just everything he was saying, every speech he gave, whether like that one speech he gives in the apartment when Spider-Man is trying to cure all the villains, talking about how gods don't have to choose, or gods don't have to change. We can do whatever we want, however we want to do it. It was just so well done. My only issue with that was just kind of the way the scene was cut, because I felt like John Watts was kind of cutting a little too much between him talking and Aunt May kind of grabbing the serum. I think maybe it could have just been like one shot of Aunt May grabbing the serum. That's all we kind of needed. And we could have focused back on Willem Dafoe. Because, I mean, this is probably more or less the last time we're going to see him as his character. So he kind of should get the screen time he needs if he's going to be the main antagonist of the film. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and... yeah, I want to go back to your point, because I do think it was an incredibly smart decision to make Willem Dafoe the main villain out of this movie. Because, when you think about all the, every Spider-Man movie that we've seen, the two most memorable villains are those first two movies, Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. And I like that it focused on both of them in such a way that fleshed them out in different ways. Like, like what they do with, Green Goblin, you get to see way more of that sympathetic side. Like, there was that scene where he was lost and Aunt May found him, and okay, that actually reminds me, there was this really, really funny scene where they're in that space where he's lost and Aunt May had found him, and I think Peter just got there, and he's explaining to Aunt May the whole situation, and in the background you see Willem Dafoe just grabbing bread and just putting it in his pocket.
Yeah.
And just keeps cutting back to it, and I'm just like, what? I love comedy like that, where like it's in the background. I don't remember what the exact term is called, but it's basically where like the two characters that are having dialogue with each other, it's not exactly super important, but the funniness is the background, like the joke is there. And I that was really funny. The some of the background jokes that you pick up on here.
I can guarantee you that Willem Dafoe probably improvised that because
Yeah.
like I feel like there's no way they wrote that in the movie. I feel like Willem Dafoe was like, you know what? I'm the Green Goblin. I do bad things. I'm gonna steal these donuts or bread or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think it actually was donuts. But he just keeps stuffing them, and there's like 3 in there, and he puts another one in. Oh man, but yeah, yeah. Just to close out my point, yeah, the villains in this movie are great. Even with Electro, I do like. Well, Electro and Doctor Octopus, I do like that they kind of made them more redeemable by the end of this movie. Especially Doctor Octopus. I mean, essentially, he's basically a good guy by the end of it.
Yeah,
He was. Oh, sorry, Rico. Go ahead.
And that's really something that I think this movie did really well, is because Spider-Man doesn't just beat up his like enemies, like he does try to like sympathize with them and try in hopes that they get back on their feet, you know, that they're not always going to be the villain, you know. So I loved how they were doing that, showing that Spider-Man, like there's more to Spider-Man than just a beat 'em up kind of person. Like he was actually trying to help, and that's what Aunt May's character actually developed a lot in this movie. Like I feel like she did really well in this. Like she was the consciousness, like the heart for Spider-Man. Like, hey, you need to reel it in. Like, yeah, they've done bad things, but they need someone to help them be good again, you know. And it's like I love how easy it was for Dr. Octopus to pretty much go back to what he was, because he was already a good person. It was just the machinery was messing with his like inhibitions, and like it was controlling him.
Yeah, it was nice to see that side of him again too.
Oh, definitely. He was a good guy. I loved it. I was like, dude, that is awesome right there. And it kind of just goes down the line with everyone too, to an extent.
Mm-hmm. It does, yeah. Like I really liked how it didn't. You could kind of make the argument that, you know, oh well, they're basically just rehashing his arc from Spider-Man 2. Sure thing, but I mean, at the same time, it's still, you know, pretty well done. It's not like it's just kind of half baked and they're like, oh look, now he's good again. It's kind of like, you know, Peter fixes the inhibitor chip that is making him the way that he is, you know, and just seeing him kind of come back to what he was really cool to see. And when he eventually returns to help out the Spider-Man, I think it was really cool, you know. And that little moment that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man had with Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, where they interact again, and when he asks him, "How you doing, my dear boy?" and he's just like, "Trying to do better," and I was just like, that's a great reference to Spider-Man 2 from their initial conversation when they first meet in that movie. Like, it was just so cool to relive that in a movie theater, because I actually never got to see, you know, any of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies in theater, so it was just cool to have that kind of moment, and getting to see Tobey on screen was really cool. For like my first theater experience with him on screen was great. It just brought everything to fruition. And I just want to bring back Rico's point earlier, how he mentions one of the Spider-Men has actually gone through something, and his movies kind of changed his whole direction, which was Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Because I absolutely loved Andrew Garfield in this movie. Me personally, I always thought he was kind of like the best adaptation of Spider-Man. He just got dealt a shitty hand with the movies he was in. Because I'm gonna be honest here, I feel like when it came to being Spider-Man, Andrew was kind of running circles around Tobey and Tom Holland in terms of like, you know who Spider-Man is. Because Tobey, you know, he's the OG. He is the original. We all respect that. If it wasn't for his movies and like the X-Men movies and the Blade movies, we wouldn't have the MCU. But just seeing Andrew Garfield, because Andrew Garfield, he is a really talented actor. And hearing that monologue that he gives to Peter about how he became angry and bitter at the world, and he stopped pulling his punches, and he started kind of having a similar arc to what Ben Affleck's Batman and Batman vs Superman had, where he kind of just stopped caring about doing the right thing and just taking out criminals and not caring how he does it, and trying to explain to Tom Holland's Spider-Man that if you go down this path, if you keep not caring the way I did, you are going to end up like me and you're going to be miserable. It was just so perfectly performed by Andrew Garfield. So I loved Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in his movies, even though they weren't that great. So I just felt it was great to see him back and to get his second chance to prove, like, no, I know this character. I know what I'm doing. I was just, you know, dealt a shitty hand with my films. So it was just so cool to just get to see that on screen in a movie theater.
What did you guys think of his redemption?
Yes. It was
yeah. 100%. That was the moment in my theater. Yeah, everyone went crazy.
And I feel like that was like needed, you know, because it was
Oh yeah,
like
100%.
he definitely lost in his second movie. Like he definitely lost, and he was considered like even outside, like a lot of like fans like panned his movies because well, the quality wasn't too great, but at the same time it was like he was always looked at as like the black sheep of the Spider-Man movies, as a Spider-Man portrayer or portrayal.
And this movie kind of treats him that way too.
It does. It acknowledges
It really
it
did.
perfectly.
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
I like that he like references himself as like the third Spider-Man. Like, all right, I guess I'm the third one.
Oh, yeah. Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3. Like, just the way he said it was just like, it felt so Spider-Man like. And I was like, yeah, because if I'm honest here, I feel like it was really well done, because even in the comics, like sometimes when he's around like other Avengers or other superheroes in general, like Spider-Man is kind of like a black sheep comparatively. You know, he's not like, you know, Iron Man or Captain America or even like Wolverine. You know, he's just this like down to earth, you know, guy just trying to get through life, trying to respect what his Uncle Ben and Aunt May taught him, and just trying to be a person that helps. And I always thought Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was like, he could have had so much potential had he had better films.
Yes.
Get a bit-
And I hope after this opens the door of opportunity for him, because I would really like to see him in another Spider-Man movie.
Secret Wars, possibly,
Question mark?
maybe. That would
Honestly, I mean, I would honestly like a trilogy of the Spider-Verse. Honestly, like I would really like to see this team up again in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
like do that, and then also have like Miles Morales come in.
Oh yeah,
That'd be cool. That would be really cool to see.
It's been set up. It was
Yeah.
set up in the first Spider-Man. He is in this universe somewhere.
He has a nephew. The Prowler has
Right.
a nephew.
He does.
And then I think it would be sick if they even introduced like a Spider-Man that we haven't seen yet. So I'm like kind of referencing Spider-Man 2099.
You beat me by 1 second, dude. I have wanted to see Miguel O'Hara on screen forever.
Yeah.
I think such an interesting Spider-Man to have in like a live-action film or series or whatever, if they could ever bring him to the screen.
They want to do something with that animated, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
He is
that's
gonna be
right.
in
Yeah.
Spider-Verse 2. He's going to be in the sequel for Spider-Verse.
Yeah. I remember that being in a. I think that was an after credit scene for the first Spider-Verse.
It was. And fun fact for all the Marvel fans out there, the guy who voices Spider-Man 2099 in Into the Spider-Verse is actually Oscar Isaac, who plays Moon Knight in the upcoming series.
Yes,
I'm looking
yes.
forward to that actually.
Yeah, that was dope. And there was one thing I wanted to get into. How do you guys feel about Doctor Strange in this movie, and how Marvel is now kind of
That's right.
intersecting other characters into their IP and movies?
I love it personally. I think it's the perfect answer to, you know, like for example, like I know for a fact a lot of fans, and myself included, will ask these questions in other, you know, solo films like with Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Where's Iron Man? And then in Iron Man 3, when Tony Stark supposedly died, where were the Avengers? Shouldn't they know one of their teammates was dead and should figure out who killed him, kind of thing, you know? So I like how he was put in the movie fairly well, and it didn't feel, you know, like he was overshadowing, which is another thing that I loved about the inclusion of the Spider-Man. They were there as supporting players. They weren't overshadowing Tom Holland Spider-Man. They weren't, you know, like, well, personally, I think Andrew Garfield did outshine Tom Holland a little bit, but that's more of a personal bias than like an actual fact. But it was good that they weren't taking up too much screen time, so it didn't take away from Tom Holland. Just the same way with Doctor Strange. He wasn't there too long. He wasn't, you know, overshadowing. He wasn't kind of in the way of the movie that is not his movie.
Yeah, I gotta agree. He was used very sparingly, and it was very effective. Like how he was just the one that made the story happen, basically. And when they didn't need him to further that story and to keep it a Spider-Man movie and not like a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, like with everyone else in it, they confined him to one area and moved on with Spider-Man's story. And I love that. I was like, yeah, because it's like all these things are going on, and a lot of it is going on in New York, and it's like, where's everyone else? Why aren't they responding to all this stuff? And I love how they address that kind of stuff by including them but also keeping them like at arm's distance.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
It was good. It was really.
I'm sorry, dude. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I was just saying that it was really well done, and I also I really appreciated how do I put this? I liked. It's in my head, but the words are not forming, and I don't like this. Okay, so basically, what I really liked too was how Tom Holland Spider-Man, his whole character arc is just, it's like he's barreling down and he's becoming what Spider-Man is to, older fans. Because, a lot of people have made the criticism over the years that Tom Holland Spider-Man doesn't feel like Spider-Man. He feels like Iron Boy Jr., and he feels like he's just kind of overshadowed by Tony Stark and all these other kinds of arguments. So I appreciated that this movie, in a way, was kind of like an origin movie for Spider-Man to become Spider-Man, because throughout these movies, Spider-Man was a kid. So he's still kind of working things out, sort of like what the Batman did. He's not Spider-Man yet because he hasn't felt that loss, that sacrifice, which is what I loved about, Aunt May. Spoiler alert, Aunt May is killed by the Green Goblin in this film. And I loved, before she passes away, she says the famous line, not infamous, the famous line that we all know and love for Spider-Man: with great power comes great responsibility. And it was almost like Aunt May was the MCU's version of Uncle Ben, because we got to see her throughout all these Spider-Man films. We got to see her be there for Peter, to be his support system. And it was just, I'm not gonna lie, I was shedding tears when she was dying. I was like, oh no, not Aunt May, damn. It was like this film gave us the response that it wanted to make us have, in terms of a character losing like a mentor figure, because there's a mentor figure that we had seen throughout these other films. She was her own character doing her own thing, and then she just dies, and Peter suffers this great loss. And it's exactly the kind of loss he needed to go through to become Spider-Man, which was another thing that I loved about the first meeting between the Spider-Men, where Tobey and Andrew are explaining that she, like, when Tobey Maguire says maybe she didn't die for a reason, because that's exactly what Uncle Ben told us the night he died. It helped shape us, it helped form us, it helped us understand how to be Spider-Man and how to do it correctly. And I thought it was so great. It was such a good scene. Tom Holland gives such a raw performance as he's crying. Like, what really got me to shed even more tears was when he was just repeating, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry," when she was on the ground and he couldn't even pick her up or even have a proper funeral with her. He just had to leave. Everything in that scene was so fucking spectacular, and it was so well written, so well acted, so well shot. It was amazing.
Yeah, and the other thing with this particular death scene with Aunt May is that the major difference is that we've had 3 movies with Aunt May. The other iterations where you hear the line, "with great power comes great responsibility." They kind of did that in The Amazing Spider-Man, but they basically say that line without saying it. I don't even remember exactly, but oh, you have a moral obligation to do the right thing. Just it's basically the line, but they're not saying it. It's just it's so fucking awful in The Amazing Spider-Man, which is why I do love in this movie. It is the line that Peter needs to hear in order to become Spider-Man. And it's all the more impactful because, like I said, we've had 3 movies with Aunt May. We've had time to, form a relationship and a bond with that character. Which, you do have that in the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. But, I guess with this one, honestly, it has that element of surprise, too. Honestly, I wasn't expecting it. Mm-hmm. So, when it did happen, I just thought it had all the more impact because of it. It definitely does get an emotional response out of you. Me personally, I didn't cry, but, I felt the emotion. It was pulled off very well.
And I just want to say one more thing, because I do want Rico to give some input on this. As well, not what I'm about to say, just kind of what we've been talking about, but I just want to say, as a major fan of the Daredevil television series, seeing Charlie Cox's Daredevil show up at the very beginning, because we were jumping back and forth, so we didn't even. I realized none of us had even mentioned it yet. In my room, I literally have a shrine dedicated to Daredevil because of that television series, because it was so well done, so well written, and I've been one of those fans who have been saying, give us season 4, and now that it's on Disney Plus, and now that he's in Spider-Man No Way Home, that possibility is gonna happen. So to all the Daredevil fans out there, we have a chance, guys.
Yeah.
We got a chance. Get our boy Matt Murdock back. We can get him.
And it's an acknowledgement, like, from the studio that, all right, they got the casting right. Like, it wasn't a recast. It was actually, freaking Charlie Cox. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I love the little scene where he, like, stops the brick before Peter can. I was just like, Daredevil, there he is.
Yeah, that was great.
My girlfriend and I were the only people that freaking like reacted to that. And the entire movie, everyone's like, "Oh my god, they brought in Tobey Maguire! Oh my god, they brought in Dr. Octopus!" The entire time, anytime someone is shown, they're going crazy. No one went crazy for Charlie Cox as Daredevil. I was like, "What?" We were so blown away by that. I was like, "How did no one else like go crazy off of that?" I was losing my shit for like a good while, dude. I was shaking. I was like, "Oh, it's him! It really is."
Yeah. That's definitely an example of like when like a lot of like the hardcore fans and then kind of like the mainstream people kind of mix. It's not. I mean, I recall in my theater I got a little bit of a reaction, not crazy big, but there were some people that acknowledged it. It wasn't like like the moment where Andrew Garfield has that moment where he saves Mary Jane, but. Yeah, it was okay. I had an okay reaction. I was losing my mind. I was like, oh shit, they freaking went there. Wow, okay, they're making moves here now. Okay, they're acknowledging the TV series now in such a way of like, because before that it was kind of up in the air. We didn't know what the hell they were even going to do with all those properties. So to finally get that confirmation, like, okay, we're keeping these characters, and we are going to use them.
Yes, and I also just, I want to add to Rico's point, because in my theater, too, no one reacted, because I had heard so many rumors that he was going to be in the film, so I have a pair of rose-tinted glasses, similar to Matt Murdock's, and I brought them with me in the theater, just in case, and I told a friend of mine who I went to go see it with, I was like, I have the glasses in case he shows up. If he shows up, I'm going to put them on. And literally, I see the cane drop. I pull the glasses out of my pocket. I put them on. I look at my friend. He looks at me. He's like, oh, my God. And I also want to bring up, I hated how, I kind of hate how a lot of people don't know about the show, because even the actor, Charlie Cox, he said that he went to a movie theater with his wife to go see it, and she was recording him while they were watching the film, and then he popped up. Nobody said anything. And he's like, and I was in a kind of packed theater, so that bummed me out. And when I heard that, I was like, what? I was like, the disrespect to my man Charlie Cox. I was like, Charlie, if you're listening, I want you to know I was going crazy, man. I was excited. I'm excited you're back.
Dude, I am still freaking stoked.
I heard about that moment, too.
I didn't hear anything about that. I didn't hear, anything about him showing up in the movie, and it really makes me sad that he felt like he was kind of shunned because of the reaction of the audience, in his theater that time. Man, I was going crazy. I was jumping up. That was the biggest jump I had in the entire movie with the cameo, or not cameo, but the multiverse appearances and everything. I was just like, holy crap. I loved the Netflix show so much. I was so bummed out when it was canceled. I'm so glad they kept him. Oh my God.
Yes, and I have to say, we need to make an episode where we just talk about Daredevil the series and nothing else. I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there. I don't know if you guys are down. I don't know if our listeners are down to hear it, but all I'm saying is we got to do it.
Hey, get John Bernthal in this with the Punisher.
Oh yeah.
Make it.
Yeah, keep all the important ones. You can scrap Iron Cage
Iron
Cage.
Fist.
you can scrap Iron Fist, Luke Cage. Yeah, whatever. I wouldn't care.
We can keep all the actors except for Iron Fist. Let's just get it. No disrespect to Finn Jones. I know he's a good actor. He was in Game of Thrones and stuff, but Iron Fist is not your role, man. I'm sorry.
Iron Fist just ain't the show either.
It really isn't. It really isn't.
Oh man.
All right, let's get back to No Way Home. We're getting sidetracked.
I just wanted to backtrack real quick. Anytime they kill off Aunt May, in the comics, it's always a taboo thing. You don't do that. You don't kill Aunt May or Aunt May, and it's come on, dude. And it's when they did it in the movie, it completely took me by surprise. And like how Andrew was saying, was that was like the with great power comes great responsibility moment, and that is when he became like Spider-Man because of that moment right there, and that's going to be his moment going forward. I was like, yeah, that honestly is, but it's like it takes you with it because you've seen Spider-Man's backstory, the whole like every single like reboot that happens. You see it, except for or iteration of Spider-Man, you see it, and then Tom Holland's you didn't see. Like, yeah, they mention Uncle Ben, but it's like a throwaway, and this one you didn't expect to see the backstory, the big moment that happens that defines his character going forward, but it's like, boom, there it is, and it's like, oh crap! So you feel the whole way, and then it's like it really like adds in like some of the good points of like One More Day, the comic book series I went through, and it like
One More Day.
Yeah,
you're bringing that up on Rico, deep cuts right there.
I had to because this movie is basically taking One More Day and making it good.
Better, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Let's be honest here. Any comic book fan knows One More Day is one of those Spider-Man comics you just don't talk about.
Yeah.
It's like the Clone Saga. You just don't talk about it.
Okay, you see, I'm just a normie over here. What comic is this, guys? Just
Andrew,
a little backstory.
Andrew, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I got you. So, One More Day, I'll start with that one. It was a comic that was made, I can't remember what year, I want to say early 2000s, and basically what happens is Aunt May is killed in the storyline, and she was killed, I believe, if you want to just refresh my brain, Nico, it was after the events of Civil War where she was killed, right? By the assassin Kingpin hired to kill Spider-Man?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, for sure. So, for those who don't know, like I just mentioned, in Civil War, the reason Aunt May is killed by an assassin hired by the Kingpin is because Iron Man convinces Spider-Man within the Civil War storyline to reveal his identity to the entire world as part of the Superhero Registration Act, which in the MCU is the Sokovia Accords. And basically what this Superhero Registration Act was trying to implement was having superheroes work with the government, but they have to work with them, and the government has to know who they are, where they live, everything like that, and in turn, the rest of the world would know who they are and everything like that. So Spider-Man goes to a press conference with Iron Man, reveals his identity to the entire world, and I liked in that comic, J. Jonah Jameson just falls out of his chair, losing his mind, finding out that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. And once everybody finds out, including Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. And Kingpin, once he discovers who he is, he hires an assassin to kill Spider-Man, but the assassin messes up and kills Aunt May by accident. And this created the domino effect, which leads to One More Day, where Spider-Man makes a deal with Mephisto to basically, and for those who don't know, Mephisto is sort of like the Marvel's version of like the devil, one of the many versions they have within the comic lore. And basically, Mephisto says, you know what? I'll bring your aunt back to life, but you have to give up your marriage and your daughter. And at this point, Spider-Man has a daughter with Mary Jane Watson. So basically, Spider-Man agrees to do this, and all the fans went fucking ballistic. They lost their minds. They were saying, why the fuck would you ruin Peter's, built family just because Aunt May passed away? Because he loves her? That's ridiculous. And which is something I felt like what was done really well. I'm going to bring up this other tidbit before I talk about the next Spider-Man comic. In the Spider-Man PlayStation 4 game, Aunt May, spoiler alert, she dies as well. But what I loved about that moment in the game is Aunt May even tells Peter, because the whole thing when she dies, she's infected by a disease within the game, and Peter has the only cure, and Peter has to make a choice: either cure Aunt May and anybody else who's infected will die, or he lets a scientist take the cure and develop a serum and a vaccine for everybody else. And as he's about to inject Aunt May with the cure, she stops him and tells him, "Do not do this. This is not how I raised you. You have to think of the greater good, not just yourself." And which is what made a lot of Spider-Man fans upset about the twist or I guess what happened in One More Day. Or, just kind of, it didn't make sense for them to kind of do that to Spider-Man. Spider-Man wouldn't make that kind of decision. So in No Way Home, he makes that decision, but it's not for him. It's for the entire world to be safe. So that's what made it good. That's what made that twist good, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
thanks for explaining it.
Also,
Of course.
One More Day was just so that they could have Peter Parker be single again, so that they can have him have Spider-Man be a bachelor, which was just so cheap. Yeah, it was just so cheap.
Yeah. I also feel like it would be an interesting iteration of Peter with these set of movies going forward with Tom. It does introduce a lot more possibility now.
I didn't think about that. Exactly. Yeah.
Because the thing is, too, even Tom Holland has kind of expressed that he's not like, he doesn't want to stop playing Spider-Man, more of like he wants to take a break. He wants to kind of, which is understandable, you know, after he's played this character essentially more than Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield did. He's been Spider-Man, Captain America Civil War. He's been Spider-Man for a while. So it's understandable that, you know, an actor of his talent would kind of want to take a break, do other things, you know, make other movies. And he was saying, you know, maybe they can bring in another Spider-Man because of the whole multiverse thing, which, you know, leads to Rico's point and your point of bringing in Miles Morales or even Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind if Tom Holland takes a break. It'd give us time to see a different Spider-Man. You know, it'd be cool, get some more representation out there because Miles Morales is half Hispanic, half black. And then you have Miguel O'Hara, who's half white and half Hispanic. So it'd be cool to see kind of a, you know, a mix-up for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm eager to see what they do in the future, especially with all the, well, they do have, I believe, like 2 Spider-Verse movies coming out in the animated format, and I could be wrong here, but I do think they do want to do another trilogy with Tom, which, you know, after this, I mean, I'm all for it, man. I mean, it's not like they have a shortage of villains in their catalog, so I'm all here for it.
That's something too. They were one shy away from having the Sinister Six, and then they just show Venom at the end. You know?
Yes.
Well, I do like that they're saving it for a future movie. It's gonna come back. I do for sure feel like that's gonna be coming back around. Hopefully in a Spider-Verse movie. Like imagine like the 3 of them fighting the Sinister Six. Maybe like, well, maybe not more than that. That's already too many characters, but. This movie does open up the floodgates for that possibility with how many characters they juggled here. And, you know, the way they pulled it off was just seamless.
Hey, Secret Wars, dude. Secret Wars. They could even have, like, Flash Thompson, Tom Holland's Flash Thompson become Agent Venom.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, but I see your point.
Yeah, it's not going to work. I can't
no offense
imagine
to the actor who plays Flash Thompson in the MCU, but I can't see it. Maybe if, you know, he takes, you know, the MCU secret formula steroid and gets bulked up and shows some more acting chops aside from, you know, comedic stuff. I mean, then maybe I could see it, but as of right now, I don't know.
Yeah, Agent Venom.
Tony Revolori. That's his name.
There we go.
Yeah.
He's a comedic actor mostly. I think the only other movie I saw him in was like the Grand Budapest Hotel, which good movie. He's a good actor, but yeah, I guess this isn't like. I mean, I don't really know the whole backstory to Flash Thompson. I mean, I know you guys have way more knowledge in that department.
Yeah,
but you know, just as a character, from what I've seen, he's just, you know, he's mostly annoying. He's just mostly there for comedic relief. Honestly, he's a joke. Honestly,
yeah.
Well, he's like a dumb brute in the other 2 movies. But Rico, do you want to take this one and explain what Agent Venom is in the comics?
So Agent Venom, Agent Venom Flash Thompson, he's basically like he was a Peter Parker's bully for all of high school, and then eventually, he goes off to the battle as a soldier, and his whole story, like when he's in war, basically is based off of a true story about a soldier that and it's like he loses his legs during the battle, and the entire time he's able to like have this courage because he idolizes Spider-Man. He wishes like he was like a hero like that, and he wishes he could be a hero to save everyone else, like all of his brothers on the field, and he loses his legs and then comes back. He's a war hero, and pretty much the Venom symbiote is being used sparingly to see if someone could actually use it and be like basically a dog of the military, like go on like rogue operations under the military's behalf. And when he gets the symbiote in the small quantity or the small allotments of time that he gets it, he's able to have his legs again, and pretty much like he gets really addicted to that. And the thing about that is his dad was like a raging alcoholic that he had a very like terrible childhood with, which kind of explains why he was such a violent person as a young person. And then he kind of like goes through his emotions with it, and he learns to forgive his father. He's learns to forgive himself basically, and just like give up his alcohol addiction. But at the same time, he's not like a rich and spoiled person. So that's the difference between like Tom Holland's Flash Thompson and Agent Venom's Flash Thompson. Is like Flash Thompson in the comic is like very he's had a terrible upbringing. He's not like privileged like that. He's had a very troubled childhood, and it's like I just can't see Tom Holland's Flash Thompson being able to portray anything close to that, because he's just a gag.
Yeah, they're definitely going for more comedic relief for him, it seems like.
Yeah, which is a shame. It really is.
It is, yeah, because Agent Venom is such he's such, like, you know, just if you guys heard everything Rico just said, he's such an interesting character to kind of bring to the big screen. And it was something that they even touch upon in the later comic Venom run. I don't know if you've read it, Rico, the Donny Cates run of Venom. I don't know if you've read that at all, have you?
Is that the Venom that Planet Venom basically?
It's a more recent run on the comics. It's where they introduce Null, the god of the symbiotes.
Yep,
I don't know.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, and in that comic, even Eddie Brock himself admits that the person who used this symbiote the best was Flash Thompson, because he just knew how to function with it, and he's just like, and with me, it's like a knife fight all the time. Like, there's times where we work together and we agree, but there's times where we disagree, and you know, there's this, you know, heated tension between us all the time. So I mean, it'd be great to see that down the line. I mean, you know, if they ever bring in Tom Hardy's Venom, and that's another thing that was kind of one of my gripes with. At first, I didn't really mind it, but as time passed on, it kind of began to bother me as I talked to more friends about this. Like, I didn't really enjoy the comedic aspect they try to bring to Venom with Tom Hardy, because you can tell Tom Hardy, he's having a great time playing Venom. He does a great job for the most part with what he has, but it's not really true to what Venom is. Venom is a bit more rough around the edges. He's a bit more stoic and less, you know, less funny, and more kind of like, I hate everything because I have an alien parasite that's, you know, killing me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. That's honestly like my biggest gripe with it too, is that like Eddie Brock sees the Venom symbiote as an enemy, and when he becomes anti-Venom, like that's like his true place right there, is like he's actually able to help other people, and that's what he actually wants. And it's not, I don't know, it's just not, the Venom movies just are not good, in my opinion. I really wish they were good. I love Venom, but it's a tragedy they're not.
Venom, for me, the Venom movies for me, it's kind of like, since I'm such a big fan of Venom, like, I was trying to force myself to like them because I care so much about the character, but then that love and care for the character made me realize, you know, these movies suck. And it was the same thing with the Justice League, as we hop over to DC really quick. I forced myself, I hate to admit this, but I saw Joss Whedon's cut of the Justice League in theaters like 4 times, because I was like, I thought, you know, it was more of a Zack Snyder movie, and Joss Whedon kind of touched it up. And I was like, no, like Snyder can't do this. This was his vision, right? Like, there's no way there was this can't be right. It was kind of the same thing. So I hope maybe one day we get a proper Venom, but until then, we gotta just hope for the best.
A little piece of me hopes that Venom, Tom Hardy Venom, just kind of got written off.
I get why.
That's so messed up, but I kind of wish. You know?
I get you. No gripe to Tom Hardy, phenomenal actor. Was excited when I heard he was playing the role. Not as excited anymore after seeing 2 films with him.
Yeah.
I fortunately haven't seen the second one, but the first one was really bad, and I don't like it. But yeah, to harken back to to go back to Spider-Man,
right? Because we
There is, I don't know, there are some mild criticisms I wanted to get into myself, and yeah, I would like to hear some criticisms you guys would have that pertain to the
Ah,
movie.
mhm.
But yeah, I got just one thing I want to get into. I really think some of the writing could have been touched up a little bit in a few spots,
Mhm.
uh, mostly pertaining to the whole Doctor Strange stuff. Um, Honestly, if the whole movie wouldn't have happened if Doctor Strange would have just communicated what the spell would have done beforehand.
Yeah.
But instead, it's brought up in a moment right before everything is about to happen. And then that, in and of itself, is what, causes everything to, happen. That's why the story happens. I think, writing wise, they could have, done that moment a little bit more differently. It does make Doctor Strange seem a little bit more irresponsible in that sense.
Mhm.
So, just for me personally, I would have liked that moment to be written up a little bit differently. I don't know. How did you guys feel?
Definitely, I agree. I think because like another Doc Strange is another character that I have a decent amount of comic book knowledge about, and I could definitely see where they were going with it because Doctor Strange he is kind of an arrogant character. He's sort of the kind of guy who's like, you know what? I've literally saved hundreds of dimensions on a weekly basis. I could easily do something as simple as a spell, and there's no need to explain it to Peter. I can do it. The kid will be fine. Blah 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 blah. I'll do it. But at the same time, I definitely agree in terms like Doctor Strange should have at the very least kind of broke down like, hey, so doing this spell, everyone you know as well will forget you're Spider-Man. And even
Yeah.
then, easily gave him a solution like, oh, just tell them you're Spider-Man again or something like that, But
Yeah.
it's just kind of, it's one of those things where I can kind of brush it off because I'm like, without it, we wouldn't have the movie, we wouldn't have gone
It
so.
doesn't destroy the movie by any means. No.
Exactly. Yep. What do you think, Rico?
Honestly, that's the same thing. It's just plot contrivance on that part. It's like it just makes him seem like what Matt was saying. It just makes him seem like really irresponsible for not reading the fine print on what the spell would do. But I mean, it still doesn't break the movie for me. I just
Yeah.
enjoyed the ride of it all.
Yeah, of course. Like it's like it's a needle in a haystack. It hardly makes a difference in terms of like the quality of the movie. Like it's just I guess like my nitpick of the movie. That's just one area that I would touch up a little bit better. Um, I think, like I said earlier in the episode, I do think the CGI in this movie looks really good. I think it was nominated in that department at the Academy.
It was.
Um, it looks good. It's not like the Eternals where fucking everything looked like garbage. So freaking, I don't know. It's just astonishing to me that one of Marvel's worst movies is right next to like one of their best. Yeah,
Yeah.
this Spider-Man No Way Home is like it's crazy because like we're in a period of time now where we are starting to get a little fatigued with superhero movies. Like I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I am getting. I do try to watch a lot of stuff, but I am getting mildly fatigued with some of it. But this movie is just it just kind of like injects new life into the genre, the superhero genre. I mean, and it just shows you the all the more possibilities that it can offer. And I don't know, just for me, it's you know it's reignited my love for this genre. Just having another high quality movie at this caliber, like this and the Batman, having like
Mm-hmm.
two high quality comic book movies coming out so close to each other. It's a real treat. I'm glad that we're getting this level of quality now. Honestly,
Definitely, yeah. And I want to kind of get back to the criticisms. One of the things that didn't really break the movie for me, but took me out of it, was Ned having magical powers. I
Okay,
just,
yeah.
I couldn't.
yeah. That's not even explained. Yeah,
It's not.
that was. I know you guys know, but I was like, wait, so he does have magical powers?
No, no.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
Okay.
No. Like, and the thing is, it's kind of like it felt kind of out of nowhere. It didn't really feel like there was any kind of build up to it at any point at all, or even in the prior movies, because Marvel is famous for kind of having things planned out, and I feel like this particular thing was just kind of shoehorned in for like comedic effect, and it wasn't really it wasn't that funny to me. Like when they're fighting the villains at the end at the Statue of Liberty,
Oh.
like when he's trying to get the portal closed when they get the box, I was kind of like, oh, okay, so one of the villains is going to go through the portal and try to attack them, and then next thing I know, the lizard's running through the classroom trying to eat them or whatever. And I was just and no offense to Jacob Babelton or whatever his last name is, who plays Ned. No offense to him or anybody, but it didn't really fit or work for me personally. It was just it took me out for a second. I was like, why the fuck does Ned know magic now? Because he has a sling ring? That's Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, more or less. If he would have been, if it wasn't for him being, wiped out of existence, like he took forever to learn how to just open a portal, and Ned can just do it because we need to bring Toby and Andrew into the fold somehow. It didn't.
Yeah.
Took me out for a second. It didn't really work.
It honestly was a way to keep Doctor Strange's magic abilities in it without having Doctor Strange in it, so it can be more focused on the Spider-Man cast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Rico. That's exactly why.
Yep.
I don't know if that's gonna have any ripple
I'm glad you
effect,
cleared that up
but
for me, because I was under the impression that, like, oh, okay, they're gonna do something with him in the future, like magic wise. But that's just writing right there. They just needed to.
I hope they don't. I can't get behind the idea. Even if they kind of set it up, I still probably wouldn't be behind the idea. It makes no sense to me. And then just the way the movie ends too, where he doesn't remember anything, it felt like it just felt so unnecessary. But what did you think, Rico?
Honestly, if it's confined to just this one movie, I'll be okay with it. If it becomes like a running thing where now he's just like Spider-Man's, well, I guess he's not because he doesn't know him anymore, but if they ever like, oh yeah, hey, I'm your buddy, I'm Spider-Man as well, and he becomes like Spider-Man's sidekick, which is, what the hell? Like, I don't understand where they're gonna take that. I feel like it was kind of like an irresponsible thing to do with character-wise for him, because it's like, what's gonna go on with him, I don't get it. I don't get why they did that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. It just felt like it didn't need to be there. They could have. I honestly think they could have like figured something out. Like I like how Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man when he's in Ned's Lola's house, where he's like, is there anywhere that your Peter would go to kind of figure his shit out and just kind of have some alone time? I feel like we could have just had maybe have them sprinkle. Maybe seeing the Spider-Man a little early, but not like really seeing them. You kind of just maybe follow some shadowy figures trying to find Peter, and maybe they check where they would go, like Empire State Building or the Chrysler Building, where they both mentioned that's where they go to clear their heads. Like, I feel like they could have done something like that or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I like that idea too.
Honestly, yeah, they could have just written around it, like.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like the more time efficient way to do it. Just bring them all in the same place. Magic, done.
Yeah, because like kind of like what Rico said, it's one of those things where it doesn't break the movie for me, but it definitely took me out for a second.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's what doesn't make it a 10 out of 10 for me. Just those little moments right there. Like there are, in my opinion, there are a few 10 out of 10 movies in the MC. Well, maybe. I don't know. My feelings are always changing, but there is one for sure. I do feel like they do have like one 10 out of 10 movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I do feel like is probably like Infinity War. That's probably like my personal favorite, along with like, maybe like Winter Soldier or Civil War. It all depends on taste, but to me, like it is a little unfortunate when like a movie like this where it's so damn amazing in every department, which like I said, I mean, I'm still going to rate this movie high, but there are just like a few things where I'm like, okay, if that was just written a little bit better, this could have been 10 out of 10, incredible. But I still love it. Like I said, I'm still going to rate it high.
Yeah, like don't worry, guys, we still like Spider-Man: No Way Home. We're just like every other movie we do on here, we got to point out the problems with it.
It has flaws.
Exactly.
It definitely does. Yeah.
And I think that's what more enjoyable, because if you can enjoy a movie despite its flaws, that's how you know you had a good time with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was exactly me last week with It Follows. It's just there are definitely a lot of criticisms that I can see with it, but that doesn't change my love for it, and it shouldn't. Just as long as you can be honest with yourself and with how you enjoy it, it shouldn't really matter.
Exactly.
But are there any other points that you guys want to talk about this movie, or do you guys just want to get into ratings?
I think I'm good with getting to the ratings.
One more thing I do want to bring up, I just kind of, and I found this out after the movie came out, obviously, was that everything with the three Spider-Men, when they're at the scaffolding at the Empire, the Statue of Liberty, was like how a lot of their riffing, it was just all improvised. Like when they talked about Toby's organic webbing, all that kind of stuff was all improvised, and I thought it was so great. Like, I just want to bring it.
That's awesome. I love the chemistry between them. That was great.
Yeah, and honestly, I just want to tip my hat off to Tobey Maguire because, bro, I've seen all those videos where he's with the paparazzi and he's just rolling his eyes, flipping them off, I know he did not like being I know he didn't like filming this movie again. I can you can tell with all the press, TMZ, all that shit. He's not having a good time with all that stuff. But he does a great job. I don't get that sense while watching the movie. That I just want to commend his acting. He did a great job with the movie.
Yes, and I want to add to that just because I was going on about Andrew Garfield, so I think it's only fair I bring up Toby a bit more too. He gave me, I don't know how you guys feel about this. You can agree or disagree. He gave off this vibe that he's more of I don't want to say a jaded Spider-Man, but a Spider-Man who's gone through a fair deal of stuff in his life. And he's a bit more wiser. He's a bit more of he's like the older brother of the Spider-Man. He's the one who kind of knows the ins and outs of being Spider-Man, the toll, the greatness that comes with it, the sacrifice that comes with it, and just everything he kind of does throughout the film, kind of being a mentor to Tom Holland specifically, and kind of being a shoulder to lean on with Andrew Garfield. I loved their scene in the science lab at the school, where he's kind of talked to him hey, so you got a girlfriend or anything like that? And he's like, oh, I don't really have time, and I don't know if it's meant for guys like us. And he's like, I wouldn't give up. He's like as someone who's been he says this without saying it, but basically I get it, man, but don't give up hope. He's like, you'll find someone eventually. Just it takes time.
Yeah, I feel like if they were to continue the MCU version of Spider-Man, but they didn't want to use Tom Holland, they could definitely pick up with Andrew Garfield. Because now his universe is kind of connected to it. Now we got the multiverse, so it's maybe he can meet Black Cat.
Hey, yeah. Hey. I always loved them in the comics together. Even though they're kind of toxic, it was always fun to read them. Black Cat, every time, little personal detail, whenever I have an ex that's kind of toxic, I'm like, she was my Black Cat,
All right, you guys want to get into ratings?
Yeah, let's get into ratings.
Let's do it.
Okay, well, Andrew, this is your movie. I'll let you go first, man.
Absolutely, great, appreciate it. So, I'm kind of with Matt on this one. This movie is not a 10 out of 10 for me. I definitely give it a solid 9, though. A solid 9 out of 10 for me. It was really great. It was awesome to see all these characters come back and return. It was great seeing them all interact. It was just, the whole movie was great. And just one last thing I want to bring up, that quick little shot of all the Spider-Men swinging together, landing together on top of the Statue of Liberty was also great. So 9 out of 10 for me.
Hell yeah. Rico, go ahead, bud.
All right, so I would say in a few years it might go down to a 9, but I'm still hit with all the buzz with it, all the appearances that the movie had, tying up everything, because I had no idea what the movie was going to be about until I watched it. I was able to avoid everything with it. So I gotta say, it's probably a 10 out of 10 for me right now, but I feel like maybe in a few years it might be a 9 out of 10. But I'm still got those goggles on right now, so I love it. I just can't get over Willem Dafoe doing a spine buster to Tom Holland. Just thinking about how the age difference between them. I just love, it's just like an old man beating up a child and throw him through the ground. I love it.
I don't know if you guys have seen that meme going around on social media, but it's basically It's like Tom Holland, like, quote unquote, in an interview saying, "No, yeah, he was never in the movie. Willem Dafoe just showed up on set one day and was beating the shit out of me, and John Watts just started filming."
Quick, guys, put the green screen behind them.
Like,
He was-
hey, keep it rolling.
John
keep
Watts
it
was
rolling.
like, "Film that, film that, film that."
Matt, what about you, man?
Yeah, Matt, what do you got for this? What's your rating?
Yeah, honestly, like I was saying before, I still rate this thing very high. It's not a perfect movie out of me, but it's still a damn good time. I love it. It's definitely one of the better superhero movies to come out as of late, especially with the oversaturation of superhero movies right now. For this to come out and to just put a fresh spin on it, that's something to marvel at, I should say. And yeah. I also give it a 9 out of 10. I agree with Andrew.
For sure. By the way, just for your
So
joke,
Yeah,
for the Marvel joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that that's out of the way, we are on to our third and final movie to discuss, Warrior, and that is also another recommended movie from Andrew. So I'll let you take it from here, dude.
Appreciate it. All right. So, Warrior, like I mentioned earlier, is a film directed by Gavin O'Connor. It stars Tom Hardy, Joel Edgerton, and oh no, the third actor is slipping my name. Hang on. Give me
Nick
like
Nolte?
2 seconds. I can do it. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I got it. Nick Nolte. There we go.
Okay.
It follows those three.
I was like, I got the IMDb up.
I was looking
I was
right
like-
at him.
I have it on my phone, but like I had to like exit out of Discord real quick, go to Google, and just make sure I had it ready. So
You're good,
it
dude.
follows these three actors, and they play a family. Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy are brothers, and Nick Nolte is their father. And they don't really go into detail throughout the film, which we can talk about more later. But basically, they all kind of grew up. The two guys, Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton, they grow up estranged. And all the characters' names, Tom Hardy's character is named Tom Conlon. And then we have Joel Edgerton's character, which is named Brendan Conlon. And then Nick Nolte's character is Patty Conlon. And it basically follows their story and how their family is a broken family. And the film starts off with Patty Conlon. He's getting off of work, I believe it's work or it's an AA meeting because he's a recovering alcoholic in the film. That's one of the reasons their family is broken, because Nick Nolte's character was an alcoholic father, an abusive father as well. And it starts off with him. He's leaving wherever he was leaving. He's driving home in a very nice car, might I add. It was a very beautiful car. He pulls up to his driveway and he sees his son, Tom Hardy's character, Tom Conlon. And they have a little interaction. You can tell Tom Hardy his character is intoxicated. He's very resentful towards his father. The film kind of breaks down a bit why there's that resentment there. When the film starts, there's no real understanding, but you feel that these two men, or at least Tom Hardy's character, does not like his father. He has a lot of bitterness towards him, a lot of hatred, and the film expresses it more throughout. So let's just get into it. What do you guys think of it?
Yeah, I'll start off. I really like this movie. Yeah, this thing is a pretty solid movie right here. The acting is very strong in it. That was probably my favorite aspect of this movie. I also am a huge fan of some of the fight sequences in this movie. You really get that pummeling sense of how violent this sport is, MMA, and yeah, they did a really good job on the fight scenes here. You really do feel the impact of some of those punches whenever you're in the ring with those shots. Yeah, I don't for sure do not think this is a perfect movie in terms of like directing and cinematography. This is definitely one of those movies where it's getting carried a lot by the acting, the drama, the dialogue, all that stuff, and I think it's really strong in that department. But yeah, what do you think, Rico?
Yeah, I gotta agree. Like, the story is very basic. If you look at what the main thing is, they just need money. So they go and fight in the UFC to beat this tournament, basically, and get the $5 million reward. However, it's everything outside of the fighting that makes the movie incredibly like entertaining, because it's like you feel a lot of sympathy for Paddy Conlon, who is Nick Nolte's character. You feel a lot of sympathy because he's trying to get back on his feet, but you know the boys are not like in the wrong for feeling the way they feel. Like they have had a terrible like childhood, and it was all because Paddy Conlon's drinking and everything, and it's like they turned out the way they were because of how they were brought up, and that is something that they did very well in like portraying their personalities through how they fought. Like
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's fighting was very direct, and it was just savage and brutal and like full with like anger, and like it was like you were getting mauled. Yeah, you were gonna get mauled. Brandon Conlon's fighting was very like sophisticated, waiting for his moment, and also trying to grapple him and get him into like certain grapple holds that they just didn't see coming. And it was just like it was a lot of that. It was like you could see the personality clashes right from the way that they went about tackling their problems,
which is something I really loved about the movie. So more or less to describe this film to people, it's more or less a heartfelt indie sports film. And you feel a lot of the heart throughout the film because, you know, Tommy and Brendan's motivations to get the $5,000 or the, was it how much? 5 million, right? Or was it five? It was five something. I can't remember.
It was $5 million.
5 million. There we go. So you feel their motivations for why they're doing this, because you have Tommy who's doing this to give the money to the widow of his best buddy who he was in the Marine Corps with. For those who, just as we were mentioning, kind of, you know, you definitely feel the budget kind of in this movie, though. It is an indie film, so they definitely don't have a lot of money, which would kind of explain the problem when it comes to like the way the film is shot, the cinematography and all that. You know, they just didn't have the money for it. But I also feel like that's kind of the point. It's sort of supposed to be shot that way. You know, it's kind of like it's a more grounded film in the sense of like, you know, not everything is going to look pretty, like even with like the fights, you know, because in real MMA fights, a lot of them could turn out either the way Tommy's fights turned out in the film or Brendan's fights. They can go for a minute because one's a tactile fighter and they have another one who's just pure brute strength and just one and done kind of hit. You know, he's like a freight train when he punches kind of thing. So I think that was really well done, you know, in terms of portraying combat sports, because I myself did wrestling for a good amount of years, so I'm not an MMA fighter or anything, but I kind of have an understanding of how, you know, combat sports work. You know, it's not all flashy, crazy stuff that they'll show in other movies. It's sometimes it can be done within 5 seconds. It can be done within, you know, 30 minutes. You don't know how long something will go. It's just a matter of time. Obviously, it doesn't go for 30 minutes because that's against like professional regulations, but you get the idea. And I also really just, you feel the raw emotion from each actor's performance, you know, specifically Tom Hardy, Nick Nolte, and Joel Edgerton, because they are the main characters in this film. And I also, I have a very personal connection to this movie because I had a similar upbringing, not going to get into too many details, but I definitely had there's a lot of reason why I enjoy this film so much. I have a very strong personal connection to it. So it's why, you know, I have this film in very high regards for myself personally. I know it's not a perfect film. You know, the cinematography, it can be a lot better. The direction could be a little better. Sometimes even the writing could use a little work. But what, like you guys were saying, what really carries this film is the performances from those three actors. They really hammer home the message Gavin O'Connor is trying to kind of convey to the audience.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I wanted to get into. Okay. I don't necessarily consider this necessarily like an indie movie. I don't know. I feel like the term indie, I don't know. Like, I looked up the budget for Warrior because I was like, okay, maybe it was made for a lot less than I was anticipating. The budget on this thing was $25 million. Ooh. So, like, they definitely do have, like, a budget to do a lot of stuff. Like, in terms of, okay, like, when I see that number, my mind goes to, like, okay, for sure, like, a lot of this budget went to the acting. Yeah. Because, like, the way this movie is presented is very, like, it's very standard. It's very like reverse shot with the talking scenes. And yeah, like I said, it is acted extremely well. But like the presentation of this movie is just very like standard. Like the cinematography is very bland, very just it's just I just don't think the directing is presented in a particularly like interesting way.
Mhm.
Just yeah, it's just it does get carried a lot by Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton. Like they do fantastic. Like I said, the whole acting in this movie is really well done. Even with the wife character, Tess Conlon, played by Jennifer Morrison.
Mhm.
There are times like where like that kind of character will be presented in a movie or TV show. The most obvious example of this is probably Skylar from Breaking Bad. She's an annoying wife, and you
Oh
just
yeah.
you just want her to go away. Like, okay, and I'm not gonna lie. When I rewatched Breaking Bad, she has legit points.
Right.
She
Oh,
is
yeah.
annoying, but she does have good points. I do like the wife in this movie. She does. It is kind of like that. She does have some good points. She never really felt annoying to me ever, which is good. I can see that maybe being different from some other people, but I thought she did great. I thought she fulfilled her role very well. I do like that she does have an arc. She does kind of like turn around towards the end. Like she does start to support him, and I thought that was really well done. Just yeah, like I said, I mean, I know I've been reiterating this point a lot, but yeah, the acting in this movie they did a really good job. The one thing I do kind of want to get into the whole drama aspect with Tom Hardy's character and Joel Edgerton's with their father, Patty.
Mhm.
Um, I I definitely felt like they maybe could have showed more of him in his asshole state when they were younger. Maybe getting like a flashback scene to see the severity of how bad he was, because you never see it. It's all explained to you, and you just kind of have to like assume like, well, I mean, you do get the sense because like Tom Hardy's character just completely hates him. So like you're okay. Obviously, their relationship was destroyed at some point in the past, and it has a lot to do with their mother and whatnot. But for me, I felt like it would have been much more impactful if you would have seen him in more of that asshole state. Instead, you do kind of get, like how Rico was saying earlier, you get more of a sympathetic vibe from him throughout the whole movie because he's trying to redeem himself. You see him trying.
Mhm.
And us as an audience, you never see him be an asshole, really. I mean, the majority of the movie is just him trying to redeem himself. And
Right.
I don't know. Like I said, for me, I would have liked more. Like I would have liked to see more of their past. Maybe when they were kids. Maybe you see more of him being like an asshole, or something along those lines. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Rico and Andrew?
I would say in this situation, I would think it comes down to more of a preference. I did like how because the acting was so strong in this, they didn't need like a flashback to show it. Just seeing the pain that's on their faces when they like recite what happened back in their childhood back at them and back at to Patty, just to like throw it in his face and to like attack him with what he did as when they were kids. Like it just seems like it's a more like realistic and adult type of thing to see because it's like Nick Nolte's character is like he's definitely trying. You can see that he is putting in the work, even though he was completely separated from his boys for like years on end. At this point, like he was still doing it, not because like he had that immediate like gratification. He was like, I'm gonna make myself a better person because that's what they deserve. Like I should do this to make it to atone for it. And it's like you see him trying, but at the same time, it's like it's not that easy for them. And it's like you get the whole picture painted with what they say in like small amounts. It's like they're not going into deep stories about like one incident. It's like it's happened over the course of many years, and it's just like I feel like if you did like a flashback to it, it would kind of make it seem like it was just one isolated incident, but it was an entire childhood. It was everything, like for their entire, all the way up until they became adults and separated.
Exactly.
Well, yeah,
That kind of.
Well, I do like that it's not like I do like that it's not like spoon fed to you in a way. Like I don't know. Like I guess in terms of like I would have liked to feel the emotion instead of like I don't know, instead of like experiencing it the way that it was in a way. I don't know. Just yeah, I definitely hear your point, but I don't know. I just didn't feel like like I said, he has like the sweet guy. He's trying to redeem himself, and I don't know. It just like I said, you don't see him be an asshole. Like I do like that it's not like shown to you, but like I don't know. Like I don't know. I guess I would have needed something to see like more of that assholeness from his character. You only see it like one scene at the end where that's a great scene, but I don't know. I just felt like I needed to see more of that other side of him in this movie. I don't know how it should have been presented, but either visually or written dialogue differently. I just didn't I didn't feel the impact of it that much.
And I kind of want to add to what Rico was saying about the more adult, realistic take on it, because like I mentioned, I have a personal connection. Yeah, I've gone through similar things like the characters in the film, and it's honestly that's honestly how it is because when you have a parental figure in your life that has that kind of issue and it creates more issues for yourself down the line, nobody really sees it. Everybody only sees that person trying to do better, and they never see what happens. And I think that's kind of the point of the film. They don't want you to see him being an asshole. They want you to see the redemptive side because that's all people will see with people with addiction issues. You only see them trying to better themselves. You never see what they did to get to that point, to the point where people in their lives that they used to love them and support them and care for them have so much hatred and resentment towards them, because I think that's kind of the point of the film. It's not trying to just, he was a drunk person and that's why he's a shitty person. We already know that just from, the characters acting and everything that they talk about. They're telling us, it's that concept, for most films, it's better to show versus tell. In this film, it's a lot better to tell than show, because if you show stuff, it could come off as, ridiculous or unrealistic, or, it could, if anything, if they were to show him being an asshole, it could honestly take away from the film. It could make it a lot worse because they're like, oh, this just feels like a generic drunk person scene where they're being a shitty person to someone that they love. And I feel like it would have taken people out of the movie and it wouldn't have made it as good as it is for me personally.
Also, I want to chime in real quick and say it also shows how ugly people can be that have experienced that, and because they have a lot of animosity towards the person that wronged them. And it's like some scenes you look at Brendan and then you look at Tommy and you're like, these are terrible people. Like, how could they say such like vile like things to Patty? But that's just how it goes, it's like they're damaged because of it. And it kind of shows you that even though they had a lot of problems when they're growing up, they also have a pretty dark side to them as well. Like, even if you were the victim, you could still like be kind of like an antagonistic presence to the person,
100%.
even though they changed their life around. Like, it doesn't just because they changed their life around doesn't mean that everything is forgiven. And it's like people can become really vile individuals because of it.
Exactly. And it's
I love that you see that with Tom Hardy's character, especially.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. You see it a lot with Tom Hardy's character for sure. And it even and it kind of who they were and who they become also kind of it adds to what was done to them and what had happened to them, what led them to be like that. Like, for example, Tom Hardy's character became a Marine and fought in actual war. And, Brendan Collin, he became an MMA fighter and then eventually had to stop because he got too injured. And which is, I guess, hindering back to Matt's criticism, I would have liked to have seen what happened to Brendan Collin, what made him stop fighting in the cage. It's just kind of implied that he went through this crazy fight and he couldn't fight anymore, and it was so bad he had to go to the hospital, which led to them having financial issues, and then everything with his daughter having heart problems, which was his motivation to do the Sparta tournament, which was another good motivation, which brings back my earlier point of like you feel their motivations to enter in this tournament and win that money.
Yeah, that's something I for sure wanted to bring up. Like the way they set up their motivations and the stakes in this movie is fantastic because it definitely puts you in the position of like you don't really know who decide with. Like, which don't get me wrong, like you could definitely like make that choice for yourself, but it does a good job at balancing the two. Like they both have like equal stakes. It does feel very 50-50. Like whenever you start to root a little bit more for Tom Hardy, you start to root for Joel Edgerton a little bit more. And I like that it does strike that balance of, you know, showing the two of them and presenting it in a way that's, you know, it's not biased towards one or the other. It does kind of like, it's presenting the drama to you, and it's kind of like making you choose, if you want to, who you side with a little bit more. But I don't know, it does kind of harken a question in my head. I was thinking, who were you guys siding with? Like, is there one of the characters that you guys did particularly side with a little bit more over the other?
If I was to pick one, I would probably go with Brendan, just because I would say he just needed enough money to get by and be okay for a while. Like, if he won, he could have legit just split it with his brother, because he just needed enough. Like, even if $1 million goes a very, very long way. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah, for sure.
That's a lifetime's worth of money made. Like, you don't need all 5 million. Like, 1 million, and then give it to Tommy so that he could give it to his buddy or Manny's wife or widow.
Yes.
So it's like I feel like with Tommy's character, if he won, he would have kept it all and just given it to Manny's widow, and then Brandon's character would have been screwed.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I didn't really have a side that I was on. Like, if you look at it from a logical standpoint, I would agree with Rico. Like, Brendan is probably the person you would want to win, but just kind of just looking at the film for what it is, it's kind of hard to like pick a side because they both have genuine altruistic motivations for why they want the money. It's not about themselves; it's about other people that they care about. So it's like, it's hard for me. It was hard for me to pick a side because I've watched this film multiple times. Like, to be honest, I think, you know, again, this is all personal. It's like my all-time favorite movie. I love it so much because of my personal connection to it. I love all the acting in it. Everything was so phenomenal. Could it have been better? Absolutely. But I still enjoy it for what it is, despite its good stuff and its bad stuff. But overall, it was hard to pick a side. I couldn't really, because like you were saying, Matt, it's like at one point in the film, you're kind of siding more with Tommy because, you know, Brendan did abandon him and left him with his dad. Or no, he didn't go with him and his mom. So he was on his own after his mother passed away in the film, and he stayed with Patty. And he even admits that it was a bit selfish why he stayed with Patty, so Patty could finally give him the attention he was always giving Tommy, because Tommy was a star wrestler, a star athlete, so he gave him all his focus.
Yeah, man. And like that just harkens back to my point where I'm just saying, like, the writing and the way they set up these stakes for both of these characters is great. Like, the way they set up this drama is so well done, and you know, when it finally does lead up to that final confrontation, you feel it. You're like, oh damn, like shit's finally about to go down. you're like, by that end of the fight sequence, you know, I'm just on the edge of my seat just watching them. And yeah, that just brings back to another thing I liked about this movie, you know, the fight sequences. I mean, I can't really say, you know, fight sequences with Tom Hardy's character because, you know, those were one and done.
They were one.
Those weren't much of fights.
There was a lot of aggression behind it. Like, that was awesome. Those were some meaty throws he was giving.
Yeah, you feel the impact of those punches when you see it on screen, which is what I do like about the directing. That is one aspect I do really like.
Also, the sound of the hits too, because it's like when they were doing straights, and then when they were doing like like hammer fist. Like it was, they had different sounds and it matched what would be going on. I loved it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and for like shooting MMA, dude, like this isn't like boxing where it is, it's mostly fists. This is like a much more complex style of fighting to film, and for it to come out looking as good as it does, like that's another point that I really like about this movie too. The MMA looks brutal.
It does, yeah. And a little fun fact for those who don't know, the fighter who plays Koba is actually Olympic medalist who's a professional wrestler. Was a Kurt Angle, I want to say?
Kurt Angle, the real
Yep.
American.
Real American wrestler. He won gold medals in the U.S. Wrestling Olympics. He's a badass. When I saw him on screen, I knew that was him instantly. I was like, they got Kurt Angle, the American wrestler, to play a Russian. I love this.
I got
Yeah,
hyped
wasn't there
up.
other real people in this movie?
Yeah, a lot of them are real professional fighters, or they're within the category of professional fighting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
man, dude. When I saw Kurt Angle, I was flipping out. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God. He won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck.
That
Like,
man
oh.
is a legend within the wrestling community, man. He is an absolute beast.
Oh, man.
Wow. Okay, I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, he really did win an Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking
Broken
neck
neck.
before he even became like a WWE wrestler.
Yeah.
All right.
Dude.
Well, here's your legendary status, dude.
Man, he's just it was crazy. It just that whole film was just, for me, it was a really good time with a lot of, issues here and there. Like, I think personally, I think my favorite performance in the film was actually Tom Hardy. Like, I loved his performance throughout the film because he just, the way he presents, Tommy Collins' rage and resentment and frustration towards his father, towards losing his best friend in war, to just going AWOL because he just didn't want to be in the war anymore after his friend passed away. Because it was, in the film, I'm pretty sure they said it was friendly fire, right? Like, they were bombed by US bombers.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And he didn't go and blow the whistle on that or anything. Like,
No,
he kept it to himself.
He just was like, you know what? I'm done with this war. And the fact that they bring this up in the film, the man ripped a door off of a tank, so it makes sense why his punches will knock a dude out with one. Like, just one punch is enough. Like, it makes sense because, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, if I was in that tournament and I heard the dude I was about to fight rip the door off the tank, I'd be like, can I pull out?
Okay, that's one thing. Okay, since you brought it up, that is like one mild criticism I have.
Of course, yeah.
Not with the door being pulled off. Like, I mean, whatever. I'm cool with that. Homeboy strong, awesome.
Strong.
There was this scene where it was basically an army or just some military dude, but he recognizes Tom Hardy when he sees him like fighting in the MMA, and then when you go back to like this camcorder footage, bro. You can't tell if that's anybody. I'm sorry.
I thought that was
He's just like, oh, that's the dude that was in my company. That's Tommy.
I thought that
And
was
I'm
John
like, you look at this video, and it's like the blurriest 240p shit that you've ever seen. And I'm like, okay. Yeah,
so
I mean, I'm
terrible.
over exaggerating. Like, obviously, it was better than 240p, but you can't even tell if that's anybody. But he was like, "Oh, that's the dude I see on TV. That's Tommy." Like you could not tell if that was anybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That was really far fetched.
It was, yeah. It was kind of a stretch, personally. I agree with that. Like, it felt like, you could make the argument that, like, well, he was there and he saw what he looked like, so obviously he could recognize him. But even then, it's kind of like, could he, though? He's in the middle of a firefight. This guy's ripping a door off. They have other people. I don't think he's going to be like, I'm going to remember you, man.
Okay, the door being ripped off, I'd remember that.
Well, like, obviously you remember that happening, but, like, I don't know, like, just because you're in the middle of a firefight, I don't think you'd be able to, like, get a good visual.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, let me analyze your face real quick.
Also,
Yeah, exactly.
like, bouncing around in the water, too,
Yeah.
At night.
You're trying not to drown, and you're trying to just, stay alive in the middle of a gunfight, and then some dude hops in the water. All you see him do is rip the door off the tank, but you probably aren't able to see who he is, especially because I think that whole firefight takes place at night, right? Like,
Yeah.
they had, like, the night vision goggles on and everything, too?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they did.
it makes it worse.
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I
I'm
definitely
sorry.
think. No, yeah, you're good. I was just about to make a point, and now it's gone. Dang it! One of you guys can go now. My point's gone. I lost train of thought.
Did you guys notice Trump's tower in
Oh, I
the
saw it
background
in
of
one of
the cinematography?
those. Yeah, I saw it in those like B-roll scanning shots. I was like, what the hell?
I was like, okay, it didn't age well.
Oh
No,
man.
at least not in that regard. And another thing. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to say. It's another fun fact. The guy who plays the person who created Sparta, the person like who's running everything, that's actually the director, Gavin O'Connor.
Oh, really? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Oh,
Wait, is
interesting.
it really?
J.J. Riley. There we go. That was his name. I blanked out for a second.
Yeah, I noticed O'Connor also wrote this along with two other people,
Mm-hmm.
and it does. I mean, like I said, even though I'm not crazy about the directing or the cinematography and a few other things, you can still definitely tell that there's passion put behind this movie, and that definitely shows with him having screenplay and directing credit. Like you can tell that whoever made this did put a lot of thought and care into it.
Exactly. Yep.
Also with the acting, like those actors definitely had to learn how to fight like that. Like
Oh, yeah.
they took a lot of pride in making sure you saw that these guys actually knew what they were doing. Like it wasn't like some stunt double doing like these things for him, and then out of nowhere it clips to his face being on top of another guy or whatever. It was the whole take on it. I was like, wow, that's impressive.
Like a good example of that is when you see Tommy like just fucking wreck Mad Dog shit in the gym when they're going.
Yeah.
You see him just the way he gets on top of Mad Dog and just starts like pummeling his head. I'm like, that's Tom Hardy. That's not a stunt double. That's Tom Hardy acting like a brutal animal of a fighter.
Yeah, or when like Joel Edgerton like jumps up over a guy's head and then rolls him down and then throws him into an arm bar. Like that was sick. I was like, he actually had to do that. Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like that's some athletic ability right there.
That's just pure like, oof, man. The training they went through was, you can tell they probably hated doing that movie after all that training.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could definitely see the physical wear on them. Like they did a great job.
That also adds to the film for me too. Like you see that they're actually tired, they're sweating, they're exhausted.
Yeah.
They don't look pretty after they take a timeout during the fight. They're sweating, covered in blood. Like you see it all, and I think that's another thing that kind of adds to the movie and the fighting in it.
Yeah, and like one thing I wanted to add too about the final fight. Okay, so spoiler alert. I won't spoil who wins, but there is a certain bone break in the movie in the final fight, and you feel that, you hear it, and you're like, ooh, yeah, yeah, homeboy's done.
Yeah,
Yep.
And then the last two rounds are of that person like kind of coming to terms with it, and you can see them crying and like seeing that they're like losing, like they're not going to be able to win what they wanted to do, but they're not about to give up on it. And it's
Which is what
super sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, on that actor who wins, like who loses, is just like, or for both of them winning and losing, you can tell they both have this, like, at least the actor who wins, you feel that sort of guilt because he's doing this to his own brother. Like he doesn't want to be doing this, and you even hear him apologizing, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry," and just the emotion they both are showing is just so well acted on both the actors' parts. Like it's just so well done. You feel, that sense of like forgiveness from the person who lost to the person who won, and you feel the guilt and the embrace of the person who won. Like you just feel all of that in the scene, and it's so really well done.
How did you guys feel about how it just ended right after the fight like that?
I liked it.
I'm okay with it. Yeah, I don't really need to see any. I don't really need to see any fallout.
We don't need
it hammered its point home by the end there with the final fight. I don't need to see them like, oh, hey, they're at a barbecue together, and
Exactly.
they're
We
all
didn't
yeah. We don't need like that cheesy ending. You know what I mean?
And honestly, that just shows how much it spoke with its physicality into it. Like, there was no real dialogue after the fight, and then when you see the father looking at the two boys like walking away, it's like, yeah, I did redeem myself by getting them back together. Essentially, even though he didn't outright do it,
That too.
seeing it was enough for him, basically.
He was saying he basically, without saying it, just with Nick Nolte's acting on his face, he's basically saying they're going to be okay without me. Like,
Yeah.
I did the best I could to rekindle our relationship, and I didn't get to do it the way I wanted, but seeing them together is more important to me than me being with them.
Exactly.
And I love that like all three of these characters all have an arc by the end. They're all different people by the end of this experience, and I love that.
Yep.
So, are there anything else you guys want to talk about, or did you guys want to get into ratings?
It was cool to see our boy Crossbones from the MCU play Brendan Collins' coach, Frank Grillo.
Soul
Yeah.
of a lion. Soul of a lion. His dialogue made me laugh so much. I was like, oh god.
He was great. I loved how his coaching method was to have them listen to like classical music while they're training. Like, that's such a unique like way to train your fighters. And when he's like, there you go, you got to feel the Beethoven, you got to feel it.
Yeah. It definitely drilled in the style, like calm under pressure.
And dude's been in a lot of crap recently, so it was cool to see Frank Grillo in an actual movie.
Where you get to like flex his acting chops, not like his action or like movie star style of acting kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's
he's really good.
Yeah, he seems like he would be a fun friend to have too. Just to
I
keep
think
him
so.
out of it.
Frank Grillo, if you're listening, let's have a drink, man. Let's all hang out.
I'm on the pod. Never gonna say that sentence again. Yeah. So, anything else you guys want to bring up?
No, I'm cool to get into ratings if you guys are.
Yeah, I would say I am too.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. Yeah. Well, how should we rate it? Well, this was this is your recommendation, Andrew. I think. Well, how do you guys feel about going forward? We just whoever introduces the movies first just rates it first.
Yeah, that's good with me.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead, bud.
All right. So, like I said, I love this movie. It's my all-time favorite movie. So I'm obviously going to give it a 10 out of 10. Despite its, issues with cinematography, direction, all that stuff, like the acting is like just a big takeaway for me and is what makes it a 10 out of 10 for me. And just everything in the film, I loved it. I loved the way it was shot. I loved the cinematography. I loved the direction, even if it's not everybody's favorite thing about the film. I just loved everything about it. So it's a solid 10 out of 10 for me.
Go ahead, Rico.
I'm going to have to say it's probably like an 8 out of 10 for me. Like, I really, really love the acting in this. Like, everything felt so weighty. And, like, all of the dialogue that they had between Tom, Brendan, towards Patty. Like, all of it was just, like, you could just feel the freaking, like, spewage just leaking out of every word that they were saying, that this was some real animosity. And I loved it, and especially with all the actual like technical fighting prowess that they showed. Like, I gotta say, it was incredible. I would say that's definitely good for me. How about you, Matt?
Hell yeah. Okay, so one thing I wanted to mention before we would like to hear your thoughts too, but I really really liked the principal character. he introduced a lot of like comedic relief throughout the movie that I really enjoyed. Like I remember this scene where he was like chewing out Brendan, and then like there's a few scenes later where like I think he actually makes it, and he's all watching him on the couch, just like cheering him on, and I'm like, yes. Like I really liked the principal in this movie.
Me too.
What about you guys?
I like the part where he was watching it and he's shouting at his wife. He's like, "He did it, honey! He did it! He won! He won!"
Like
Yeah, man.
even after he scolds him in the office, like he scolds Brendan in the office at the end of it, he's like, UFC? Damn.
Yeah, he was like. I also love that scene where he's scolding Brendan because I don't know. I just really love the dialogue between them where he says, "You don't belong in the cage with those animals." He's like, "Well, I used to be one of those animals." I just thought that was a cool way of him telling him, like, "No, I know what I'm doing. Like, I understand why you're concerned, but I know what I'm doing."
Yeah.
I loved everything that they did with him, and like I said, it did bring like the movie a little bit of levity. I did enjoy the comedy that he introduced. So, yeah, with that out of the way, my rating for this, I don't love it, but I do enjoy it quite a bit. Some strong acting here, and yeah, I would definitely rewatch this again. I give it a 7 out of 10.
Respectable. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Shia's dad.
My bad, Rico. I cut you off there.
Oh yeah, Shia's dad, dude. Shia's
dad. Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, Shia's dad. He added the levity.
He did.
So, okay, whose turn is it now? It's your turn, right, Rico?
Oh yeah,
yes,
it's my turn. Oh man. All right.
Yeah, go ahead. Introduce what your 2 movies are going to be.
All right. So, for my 2 movies, I'm gonna have the 1988. Let me look that up real quick. Let me make sure it's 1988. It is 1988. The 1988 version of The Blob.
Ooh.
Now, this has to be like one of my favorite horror movies, mainly because of the practical effects. And because of that, I've actually been inspired to start getting into practical effects. And maybe we'll see some more stuff about that. Maybe we can join in and do some videos about recreating some of the practical effects that this movie has. But first, I don't want to say anything about it because I want you guys to experience it like with no spoilers going into it.
Yeah, I'm not watching a trailer or anything. I'm going
right into it.
And then my second movie is going to be Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. It's...
Ooh. I actually want a movie.
Rico.
All right.
What's up?
Rico. One thing... Okay, so... actually, never mind. Go ahead, bud. Yeah, so go ahead.
All right, so with Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, it's a new movie that just came out, and also... It's also another multiverse movie, which I thought was actually going to be pretty funny with... the No Way Home movie that we just got. So I'm really interested in this. I only heard a little bit about it, so I'm kind of going into it blind. So hey, anything that you guys react to is going to be new for me as well.
Okay. Yeah, same here. I've been hearing a lot about it. I haven't watched any trailer for it. All I know is that there is a multiverse aspect to it, so that in and of itself has got me interested. I think it literally came out today, actually. So I'll definitely probably watch that probably like Monday or Tuesday. But for sure, I am definitely going to watch The Blob tonight. I'm excited for that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. All right. I think that's about it. Is there anything else you guys want to plug in?
So we got social media. We just got our logo on our Instagram as well.
Yes. We have an Instagram and a Facebook page currently.
Guys, you got to get on both.
Yep.
Yes. After the recording of this, I was going to get on the socials and be posting all those. But for the foreseeable future, every episode will be posted on Tuesday. That's where my mind is going forward. That could change. Can announce that next episode. But yeah. So yeah, we're all done here. And we'll be back next week for a discussion of The Blob and Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And yeah, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and we'll be back next week. Have a good day, guys.
All right, have a good one.
Have a great day, great night, and great morning.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. All at once.
All at once, everywhere.
All right, guys. Later.
All right, later.
All right, later, guys.